is the Doublet Special Master.
Live and direct.
Breakfast with CubCamTV.
Trickstar Radio.
What's happening, people? And once again, welcome back to Breakfast with Kovu here on the Big Bad Trickstar Radio. Once again, we are back inside the building for another edition of the Interview Hour, our daily conversation section where we speak to different artists from around the UK and worldwide about the projects they're working on, of course, where they've come from, and of course, on top of that, what is on the way. Today, we're joined by one of the front-running faces in UKG right now, someone who I have a lot of time for, someone who I speak to online a fair bit, and I'm always excited to see new music from him. You'll have recognised his name from the playlist on numerous occasions. Man's like Soulecta joins us right about now. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Jay. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, mate. It's great to get you on the line. The formalities are out of the way now, so it's good to get you on the line for an actual conversation. Obviously, you were on Breakfast a couple of years ago, the last time we actually had you on, but you've been on Trickstar since, obviously on Joe's show and things like that. But I wanted to snag you for a quick conversation, for a bit of a catch-up. So, first of all, how's things your end, man? It looks really busy. Everything looks like it's going quite well.
Yeah, working on a lot of music, putting out a lot of music. It's been exciting so far this year, and really, I'm just looking forward to putting out more music for everybody and contributing to the growth of the new UK garage scene in 2022. That's kind of where we're at. That's my vibe. So yeah.
Oh, I love to see, man. We love to see it. Now, this is the thing. I remember when you first came on Breakfast a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I feel garage was nowhere near the sort of scenario it's in now. It was very much kind of, you could feel it kind of bubbling, but it wasn't in this sort of scenario we now find ourselves, where garage acts are headlining stages at festivals again, and you've got like tours going on around the country. Obviously, do you want to kind of talk me through the last couple of years for yourself? Because it seems like it's been near enough non-stop growth for you over this time.
Yeah. So I mean, the first time I came down to Brighton and we did the first morning show. Obviously, garage there wasn't as many labels. There was nowhere near as many producers either. It was mostly there was like a handful of people making garage really, and now it's just completely exploded. And I do think that the pandemic, though it's been it's been a blessing and a curse really, because for me personally and for the garage scene, it's allowed us to all grow online, and there's been more time for people to collaborate, which is kind of how Selector and Friends came together. And that's we'll come on to that, but that's grown so much, and it's growing still from its original kind of vision and inception. And I don't think I would have done that if it wasn't for the pandemic. So I think having the lockdowns and stuff and not having shows and forcing everything online helped the scene grow a lot online. And then obviously once restrictions ended, there've been more shows, obviously tours, festival stages and stuff like that. So I think that's the progression it's kind of taken. And I still think that it's got a long way to go as well. I think we're kind of still almost in the earlier stages rather than like the latter stages, just because people still have no idea what new garage is. There's a lot of people out there that don't know. People who are into music are aware, obviously label managers, DJs, bloggers, all that kind of stuff. Everyone's got their finger on the pulse. But even when I go out to, out and about and meet people, a lot of people still don't know what new KG is or garage. They don't know there's a new scene. So I still think there's a way to go, but it's really promising so far. It hasn't been in this good a state as a scene since 1999, 2000. So definitely, it's really exciting.
No, I'd agree with you entirely. I actually wrote that in an article, I think today, when I was putting stuff down about actually the strength of not only necessarily I feel the artistry, but the strength of almost like the foundations, the kind of the kind of crosswork more than anything else. It feels like there's like layers upon layers on layers and layers which weren't there maybe 3-4 years ago, and those foundational kind of layers have built up, and we now have like such a backdrop of labels all sort of dipping in and out of the garage sound. The combination of sort of I want to say sort of old school artists combining with new school artists, like re-emerging and things like that. It's so exciting. And obviously, off the back of this, I do want to kind of talk about Selector and Friends, because this is a project that kind of has a lot of all of this involved in it. You mentioned obviously you wouldn't have necessarily done it if lockdowns and things like that hadn't have happened. With that in mind, when did the idea for Selector and Friends first come together? Because this is a project that defies a lot of planning by the looks of things.
I mean, basically, it was the lockdown happened, and I think it was one of the first. It was an EP. Do you remember the Continental Bashment EP with Cubano and all? So you remember that? So I put that out, and that was all like sort of quite a mix of kind of clubbier tracks as well. And put that out just as lockdown hit. We planned to release that. We didn't know there was going to be a lockdown, and we put that out. And then sort of Gav from Garage Shed was sort of like, you should do a collab album, because everyone's collabing at the minute. People are not doing anything. There's other DJs who maybe sort of who would have been too busy touring or DJing, maybe you can reach out to some of them. You know, some people might be more up for working together because of the situation. It's like a unique situation. So, and he kind of helps me out by saying like, oh, I reckon you should collab with this person. I reckon you should collab with this person. And if I don't know them, he knows them, he'll put in a word. So he's kind of been really good as a kind of networking tool for the project to kind of be like, right, here's someone that you should collab with. I think it'd be really good if you, and I would listen to if I wasn't familiar with them, I'd listen to their stuff and reach out to them. And so that's kind of how it came together. And I started working on it in the summer of 2020. So from really May until October 2020, I wrote the first album, which was the Selector and Friends album. And this is something actually, this is a little nugget that I haven't said online or anything yet. So this is the first time I'm going to say it online. But I wrote 2 albums of I have 2 collaboration albums basically. So Selector, right. So this is where the Dubs edition comes in, right?
Okay. Now I'm interested. I've been writing notes this entire way through, and now I'm running out of ink at this point.
Okay. So here we go. So I basically, obviously, I collaborate. And with the encouragement of Gav from Garage Shed, I collaborated with a lot of different artists. So we did singers, we did MCs, and we did producers. I was just
counting. I think there's 12 collaborations on the version that there's 12 featured artists, I think, on the version that came out.
On the original, yeah. So there were 12, but by October, before I had the final, when I was going through the track listing, I had such a mix of stuff, and I kind of in my head I realized that I had 2 different albums. I had one which was mostly vocal, but like, bar the Tough Culture tune, most of the tracks on that album are quite uplifting. They're vocal, they're kind of happy, sort of. They're not necessarily all club tracks like the Emma Cannon one, which was well received. Feel Your Feet. That's more of a vocal. It's more for sitting in the car in the park. It's not one that I play in my sets live and stuff because it can probably work, but I prefer to go a bit harder when I play out. But it was mainly vocal stuff, and I kind of wanted it for radio. I wanted it to be more of a streamable product. And then I had literally another 7 or 8 tracks, which were more like the stuff you're hearing now, like my collab with Jemmy, the Matt Jam Lamont remix we had as well. And we decided to put that on the album as well, because it was a good home for it. So Select and Press, so the Dubs edition, and I haven't actually officially announced it. It's just on the artwork, but that is going to be the second album, which is hopefully dropping later this year. And that's basically all more underground garage with mostly producers. There's a bit of vocals on there, but it's mostly for the garage heads. It's mostly for the scene, as opposed to vocally stuff that I was like, some of the tracks I made for the first album, I was hoping would cross over a little bit more into the, of course.
I would definitely say that first album has much more of a, I don't want to say kind of commercially leaning theme, but it definitely feels like there's points where it kind of lends itself to that market if it wants to. That's the kind of vibe you kind of get off it. I mean, you've spoken a little bit obviously about the second album. There's obviously the remixes to dive into as well.
Yes,
the Dubs edition. When you kind of, okay, put it this way: when this project first launched, were you aware you were going to have essentially a trilogy of releases, slowly looking like a Marvel universe or something like that? Within the same plan?
It's like tentacles, of an octopus sort of thing. Like they're all. So originally it was going to be one collaboration album. Yeah, that was just originally what it was going to be. And then once I'd made 20 collabs over the lockdown, or over that summer of 2020, spring, summer, autumn, I realised that I had such a broad range of garage that I didn't feel that the tracks fitted well together. I had to split them up into 2 different projects, and that's where we're at. And the remixes actually came about. We were only going to do. So we'd done Selector and Friends album, we put it out, and then we decided that we'd get a couple of remixes on to help, sort of put the tracks in front of people again. Give it at least a brand new life. So we got 4 Run Garage Shed. So that was in the bag. They picked the track, the Emma Cannon one. They did the remix of that. We got Q involved to do the track with Dread MC. So he did that. So we'd had those 2 remixes, and then I think. And then I posted something on Instagram, like on stories or something, or I put a post out when the DJ Q remix came out saying who else would smash a Selector remix, and I put a story out, and I did was it a text box in the Instagram story, and I just got I had the whole day my thing was popping off of producers that and people in the scene that I know I've maybe spoken to or maybe not have spoken to but are following, all come up say, yeah, I'd be up for it. I had an album and a half's worth of people, 12, 13, 14, 15 people come in, and pretty much I think everyone who asked me, bar a couple who maybe didn't meet the deadline and stuff, but we got most of them involved. And that was kind of, originally it was going to be 1 EP, and then I was like, we've got so many here, and some of them hadn't come in time, so I thought, right, we'll do 2 separate, we'll do part 1 and part 2. And I feel that doing that was a good way. Like, I think with like any music scene, it's all about the community. I think the community is really important, and and especially now that lockdown's ended and there's more nights and stuff, and I go out and I've played at some of these nights, and I go there as well, even if I'm not DJing, to some of these garage nights, and I can feel like, especially in London, and I'm sure in other cities as well, like Bristol and stuff, but there's definitely a community, and I felt that the remix project was a good way to get a lot of more unknown producers or up and coming producers to be involved with everything that I'm doing with building the scene. And it's not just me building the scene, but I like to do my bit, and I feel that my bit is to be able to just put out lots of music, you know, and get people involved and give people opportunities to release on Garage Shared, and to also just be involved with me and some of these producers that have done the remixes are putting out singles and doing other things and growing themselves, and so that's kind of where the remixes came in. So it wasn't the whole original thing was just an album. It was just one album, no remixes, nothing.
But it's completely spiraled. It's turned into this, I want to say quite magical at this point, sort of mesh of kind of collaborative material and remixes and things. And it will, I think, go down as one of the projects that stands the test of time if you take it in as a whole.
So.
You know, you take it as this whole body of work that's all spun off the same thing. It's a really cool thing, man. I wanted to say congratulations to you on there as well for the success of the project. For something to kind of grow from such a kind of small original concept into something that's now spanned over a year's worth of releases. It's such a cool thing to see.
Yeah.
So kind of moving forward a little bit to obviously the more recent things. We've seen a cracking collaboration between yourself and Jemmy. Again, two heavyweights right now. This is one that I saw and instantaneously went, cool, I'm having a piece of that, because that's definitely going to be up my street. Again, this one, did you say this one was was a collaboration that you already had in the bag for a little while?
Okay, so this track I reached out. So people know I love Jemmy. He's like one of my favorite producers. Like, we get booked on a lot of the same lineups. We've like back to back 3 times. We hang out and stuff, and you know, like, and I love his sound. He's kind of like the new KG. He's like MJ Cole, like a hyper MJ Cole sound. I just love it. I love it, and he's obviously been involved. Well, he's been involved with Garage Shed, been involved with Kiwi, and he also lives in London as well, so he's not far from me. And I basically reached out to him and said, you know, this was a December 2020, so I'd actually pretty much finished Selector, and I pretty much got the track listing down for Selector and Friends, but I knew that there was going to be another project, the Dubs edition. I knew that was kind of on the horizon, and so I reached out to him, sent him a track, I sent him a sketch, sort of a 2-minute long sketch, and he basically he basically just added on to it. He changed some of the drums and added on some of the keys and stuff like that, and arranged it a bit more, added in the vocal. But it was a real, I think that was a real 50-50 kind of, when I listened back to the elements of it, it was a real 50-50 collab with that. I sent him the stems, he sent it back to me, and that was it. What he sent back, that was that was it done kind of thing. And so that was in the bag. And then it was just a case of, so we'd had that ready from a year ago. It's been there for a year, but it was just about fitting it in. And I didn't want to start putting out stuff from the Dubs edition until originally it was all going to come out in November, but because of I just didn't want everything to come out with lockdown, like COVID and stuff. I just wanted I wanted to feel like society, clubland and everything was kind of getting back to normal, and there was less sort of uncertainty. So we kind of moved everything to this year. And so that's why, so we put it out, we wanted to get it out and stuff, and we did. So that's kind of the story with that. And there's other tracks on Dubs Edition that I have been sitting on since literally end of 2020. And there's also some ones that I've done quite recently as well, some newer collabs so it's kind of a mixture of the last year or so, but it was just about timing and when to put it out. And so that's kind of the story behind that collab and the project.
Amazing, man. I mean, this is the thing with an artist like Jemmy and yourself, obviously, you are two of the kind of heads that are being kind of, I suppose, heralded as people as kind of really pushing things forward. And it's really, really exciting to see when those two sort of things come together more than anything else. How has the response been from the kind of fandom in regards to this one? Because it looks like it's a tune that's picked up a fair bit of traction. It looks like it's picked up a fair bit of support as well. Like, how's the traction been? Yeah, I mean, it's been good. Jemmy actually sent it out to a few people. He actually sent it out he forgot to send it to me, funnily enough. So he'd done it, right? He'd done his bit on it, and then he put it on SoundCloud in his sort of like demos folder that he sent, dubs that he sent out to DJs and stuff. So quite a few DJs actually had it before I'd heard before I'd heard. And then I was like, I messaged him like a month after I sent it. I was like, how are you getting on with the collab? He's like, oh crap, did I not send it to you? And I was like,
No, you didn't. So I go on the SoundCloud and there's like 60 downloads, 60 plays, 60 downloads. I'm like, oh my god, he sent it out to everybody, like before you've even given it a name. And so I didn't mind because it's like it's good hype and stuff. But I think Conductor played it on his Radio 1 mix last summer, so that was already like an early sort of nice boost for it. And then obviously we put it out, and because there's been a few shows and we've been on the same bills, we're able to get some footage of me and him sort of playing it out live and stuff in the reaction. And I think because again he's obviously sort of smashing it in the new KG scene, and he's very much in tune with the younger sort of the guys that are into like the Steppers Club and into Kiwi, that kind of audience. I think that track was made for them, and yeah, it does the job. People enjoy it. I've had messages about it and stuff. So I think it's a strong start. I mean, we had the Mac Jam Le Mans. That was technically the first, even though it's a remix, it was the first single from the album. But we got played up by Danny Howard on Radio 1. I think you wrote a nice review about it as well. The Mac Jam Le Mans remix.
Yeah, I sure did.
So I think so far we've had 2 tracks out from the project, and both of them have had plays on Radio 1. Top the Juno charts. I think my track with Jemmy's in the top 10 on Beatport. So it was anyway last week or earlier this week. So basically it's, so far for a garage record, it's doing well, and I think the people who are into new KG and new garage are feeling it, and that's what more can you want, really?
No, entirely, man, and that's why kind of one of the main reasons I wanted to get you on, because you can see that sort of consistency rolling out. And it leads me on to my final question of the day, which is the one I always ask at the end, which is what else have we got to look forward to for the rest of the year? Now, obviously, I know you're probably sitting on 22,000 projects, 600 remixes, and a couple of collabs in there as well. However, just give me a little quick summary of what we can expect for the rest of the year.
I'll tell you what so far. So I've got obviously I've been doing loads of collabs like a lot of the last year or so. So I've got a single release coming out in May. That's going to be a big track. That's coming out in May on Garage Shared. And then I've got another collab from the Dubs edition. So and the next track's not going to be part of the Dubs edition. It's just a solo release. And then a collab from the Dubs edition. Which, do you know what? I'm going to tell you who it is. First time ever. I'm going to announce it on the show because why not? And that's going to be with Zephyr.
Yeah, lovely stuff. That's what we're here for. Let's go. I'm excited for that.
So Steppers Club head honcho Zephyr. So we made I think you'll like that one as well. Really jazzy, really 2-step, and then it goes into 4/4, really jazzy. So you'll hear that we'll get that over to you before that comes out. So got a track with Zephyr. That's going to be the 3rd single from the Dubs edition, and then and I have another single, sort of a very clubby track, which I'm really excited about as well, which I'll send to you as well. And then hopefully we'll be able to get the album out in come sort of September, October time. There might be another EP as well, perhaps another single, but finalizing all that stuff. But there's going to be bits, and on top of that, I'm going to be giving away some free downloads, like these dubs. I've made dubs of like Eminem and like a track called Madan, which is an old house track, and what else is there? Talamanca, which is another big house track. So yeah, I'm giving away some free downloads as well. Finder, Nine Toes. So I'm going to be peppering those little free downloads in between the releases, so people can play them out at clubs. Especially if you're DJing at a party and you're playing garage and people there, not everyone's into garage. Sometimes those dubs can really kind of, because they recognise. Do you know what I mean? They're really. I can
safely say they're the ones that I draw for. They're the ones that I think most people draw for. Like, I always refer to them as the get out of jail cards. The ones that you can throw in, even if the room isn't necessarily feeling it, you can throw that out and you'll instantaneously get this is quite fun actually. You'll get that response.
Exactly, and this is the thing. This is what kind of just one thing I wanted to elaborate on with the whole garage scene, and about how like we can see musically that there's so much more coming out now. There's so many more artists, more labels, but on the ground, when people go out and have a good time, there's events, but people come to garage. I've done some garage events, so I've been booked as like the headliner, but I know that half the crowd there are just there because they're just out for a night out. They're not necessarily there to come to see specific DJs. So. I can't dig too deep on like some unreleased, B-side track. I have to just draw for the dubs, because they're just there to have a good time. They're not there necessarily for whatever music. So that's why the dubs are very useful. And yeah, they obviously go, that's what their point is, isn't it? Really, they're there to sort of give you that trump card in your set.
100%, man, 100%. Well, I've got to say, bro, it's been great to get you back on the show.
Same.
And as always, it's great to hear about the things you're working on, man. I'm always a fan, always trying to stay up to date with what you're doing.
Love it.
It's always good to see. I'm looking forward to receiving a nice package of gifts as of new music and gems on the way. But very exciting stuff, dude. I've got to say, thanks for taking the time out of your morning.
No problems.
And for those that aren't already, if you want to just throw your socials out there so people can check out what you're doing, let me know.
Yep, so it's at Selector Music on all platforms. So yeah, that's it. So there, you find me there.
Fantastic stuff, dude. I've got to say, it's great to get you on. We're going to jump into this new collaboration with you and Jemmy next, and then we're going to jump into today's edition of the Dub Shack. So thanks for joining me, bro, and we'll chat soon, okay?
Wicked. Speak to you later.
Nice one, bro. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Keep it locked and don't go anywhere, people. We're live on Trickstar Radio. This is Breakfast with KXVU, and we're about to jump into this one. Jimmy and Soulecta. Fresh flavours all the way through.
This is Breakfast with KXVU, bringing you their morning flavors on Trickstar Radio.
Trickstar Radio.